For decades, the suburbs of California were the ultimate refuge of the American dream. Wide streets, new schools, year-round sun, and a sense of security that seemed eternal. But now, that dream is shattering. Homes that symbolize success are losing value. Neighborhoods are emptying out, and entire families are realizing that the perfect life they built could turn to ruin. Prepare yourself, because today, we are going to reveal the 10 California cities that are on the brink of the 2025 real estate collapse. And the most frightening part? Not even the wealthiest addresses are safe. For decades, the Californian suburb was the sanctuary of the middle and upper class, a world far from the chaos of the big metropolises where families believed they were protected from time and the economy. Houses with impeccable lawns, award-winning schools, tree-lined streets, symbols of stability and prosperity. But in 2025, this illusion begins to crumble. What was once the safe harbor of the American dream is turning into a financial minefield. Prices are plummeting, insurance is skyrocketing, and the flow of people that fueled the growth of these places is now reversing. What is happening in California is more than a real estate crisis. It's the emotional collapse of a lifestyle. From San Clemente to Santa Rosa, from the hills of Calabasas to the familiar streets of Chula Vista, there is a devastating pattern. Communities that seemed unshakable are losing their footing. Families who went into debt believing they were building the future now face the nightmare of instability. And the numbers tell a story no one wants to admit. California, the state that has always defined what it means to live well, is silently bleeding. Number 10, Chula Vista. For years, it was the pride of South San Diego, a place where the dream of homeownership still seemed possible. Families came from Los Angeles and Orange County seeking space, tranquility, and a chance to start over. During the pandemic, Chula Vista exploded. Homes that were worth $500,000 jumped almost 70% in 2 years. It was the new promise of California: accessible coastline, safety, and modern neighborhoods. But what went up too fast is now plummeting hard. In 2025, the scene has changed brutally. The number of homes for sale has doubled, and builders who once had waiting lists of buyers are now offering everything they can to close a deal: free solar panels, mortgage discounts, even HOA fees paid for a year. The market has turned into a quiet desperation. The average monthly payment for a house exceeds $4,000, and the cost of living there has gone from being a dream to a burden. What was once pride has turned into anxiety. The streets once filled with construction trucks are now quiet. For sale signs are piling up. Confidence has evaporated. Even the military presence, which always gave the city stability, is beginning to weaken, as military families prefer to move to states like Texas and Nevada, where life is cheaper and the future seems more predictable. What remains in Chula Vista is a mixture of nostalgia and fear. Families look at their homes and see an investment that has become a trap. The suburb that represented optimism now breathes uncertainty. What was a symbol of ascent has become a reminder of a fall. The story of Chula Vista is, in fact, a portrait of California itself. A race for prosperity that turned into a marathon of debt. A cycle that began with hope and ended in disillusionment. The city that promised freedom has now become a warning. The American dream, when financed to the limit, can turn into a collective nightmare. Number 9, Burbank. For decades, Burbank was the silent heart of the entertainment industry. The address where screenwriters, producers, and technicians lived among palm trees and legendary studios. It was the city of the backstage, prosperous, stable, charming. But now the lights have begun to dim. Prices have fallen by more than 13% in just 1 year. Luxury homes in Tujunga and the Burbank Hills sit for months without a single showing. What were once brokerage parties with champagne are now empty open houses, where the silence is deafening. The digital revolution in entertainment, with layoffs, studio cutbacks, and the advance of artificial intelligence, has drained the city's economic base. The creative professionals who kept the region alive are disappearing, replaced by uncertainty and fear. And the heaviest blow comes from the costs. With the increasing risk of fires, home insurance has soared. Some residents pay more than $10,000 a year just to maintain minimal coverage. Energy bills and taxes are following the same path. Even high-income families are questioning whether it's worth staying. Coffee shops, furniture stores, and boutiques that thrived on the constant flow of industry professionals now face declining sales. Burbank still has the glamour of the studios and the shadow of the palm trees, but it feels like an empty stage, the setting of a dream that has lost its audience. The collapse here is not just economic, it's symbolic. The city that helped create fantasies for the world is now struggling to sustain its own reality. Number 8, Calabasas. For years, Calabasas was synonymous with the unattainable. A golden fortress nestled in the hills where the silence of private streets was interrupted only by the distant roar of sports cars. There, success was measured not by achievements, but by square footage and automatic gates. But in 2025, the gates have closed for good, and not for security, but for abandonment. The mansions that were once fought over in bidding wars now sit untouched, with prices slashed month after month. Homes that cost $4 million are being sold for less than the cost of construction. The elite who kept the city's name among the most desirable in America are fleeing, not from external threats, but from the growing weight of maintaining a lifestyle that no longer makes sense. What was once luxury is now a burden. Annual insurance fees exceed $20,000. Taxes reach $35,000. And HOA fees, combined with private security, are close to $1,000 a month. Even millionaires are starting to ask themselves, why? The collapse here is not just financial, it's cultural. For years, Calabasas was a showcase. Celebrities flaunted mansions, families took pride in their zip code, and the real estate market fed on the image of perfection. But what was desire has turned into disinterest. Exclusivity has transformed into isolation. Today, realtors call it the Kardashian correction, a cynical term but an accurate one. The city that prospered by selling an illusion now faces the emptiness left behind when the fame is gone. The hills are still beautiful. The sun still reflects on the infinity pools. But behind the bulletproof windows, there is silence. A kind of silence that only exists when success loses its meaning. Number 7, Tustin. Tustin always lived in the shadow of Irvine, the city that was too perfect, too expensive, too planned. Tustin was the balance, modern, accessible, and vibrant. A suburb that offered the best of both worlds, small-town comfort and proximity to big opportunities. But in 2025, that balance was broken. The dream of a comfortable life became an impossible calculation. Mortgages skyrocketed, taxes rose, and the cost of maintaining an average home began to consume almost everything a middle-class family earns. The modern homes with sustainable designs, which just a few years ago symbolized the future, are now reminders of a broken promise. The planned neighborhoods of Tustin legacy, with cafes, gyms, and co-working spaces, seemed like a portrait of tomorrow. But tomorrow arrived, and it didn't pay the bill. Engineers, nurses, and small business owners who believed in the idea of accessible luxury are now trying to rent out their homes at a loss, while realtors go weeks without a single showing. The billboards that advertised "Your new life starts here" are faded by the sun. The streets, once filled with moving trucks, now have rows of "for sale" signs. The developers who built entire blocks relying on the endless flow of buyers are stuck with stagnant inventory. The sound of construction has been replaced by the sound of the wind. The irony is cruel. Tustin was created to be the future, and the future came too quickly. Progress didn't stop, it just changed its address. Number 6, San Clemente. Imagine living where the sea touches the hills, where every sunset looks like a painting. For years, San Clemente was the symbol of the coastal dream, a life between the sound of the waves and the scent of salt in the air. But in 2025, the sea remains the same. And the bills do not. The price of homes has plummeted. Oceanfront properties, which were worth $2.5 million, are now being negotiated for less than $2 million. What was once a privilege is now a concern. The costs of maintenance, insurance, and environmental fees have turned paradise into a weight that many can no longer bear. Changes in flood zones and new insurance requirements have pushed companies out of the region. The few that remain charge fortunes to offer minimal coverage. Even longtime residents, or many of them retired, are giving up. After decades, they are selling their homes and moving inland or to other states, seeking one last financial breath before the sea takes everything. The bills tell the story with more cruelty than any statistic. Electricity over $1,000 a month, rising taxes, and new environmental restrictions that increase the cost of maintaining the garden, the roof, the air conditioning itself. Paradise has become an unpayable bill. Investors, once fascinated by vacation homes and short-term rentals, are now abandoning the market. Local restrictions have suffocated profits, and the spike in insurance has turned every property into a risk. Realtors call it the coastal freeze. The sun shines, the ocean is still blue, but the phone doesn't ring. Spectacular homes with Pacific views wait for months without an offer. The greatest irony is that San Clemente didn't fall for a lack of beauty, but for an excess of cost. Paradise didn't lose its shine, it lost its faithful. The Californian dream was always about owning a piece of the coast. But now, that dream is reserved only for those who can afford a life of uncertainty. Those who can't, leave, leaving behind perfect streets, white walls, and the distant echo of a time when the sea seemed to promise everything. The California real estate collapse is not just about numbers, it's about feeling. These cities are learning, one by one, that the true price of the American dream isn't in the value of the house, but in the cost of keeping it standing when the world changes around it. Number 5, Santa Clarita. For years, Santa Clarita was the picture of what was called the perfect life. Clean streets, green parks, award-winning schools, and new homes surrounded by golden hills. For thousands of families, it was the refuge from the chaos of Los Angeles, a place where it was believed the future was predictable and safe. But in 2025, that dream is shattering. The homes that saw their value rise by almost 50% between 2020 and 2022 are now falling faster than they ever rose. In just 1 year, the median price has plummeted by 15%. The planned communities of Valencia and Stevenson Ranch are covered in for sale signs. Entire streets seem frozen in time. The same impeccable facades, but without life, without movement, without confidence. Families who believed they had found their forever home are now trapped in mortgages larger than the value of their own houses. Realtors try to maintain optimism, but even they know the lines of buyers have disappeared. The explosion of insurance and taxes has made the cost of maintaining a home here unsustainable. Home insurance has surged by over 60% following new fire risk classifications. HOA fees reach $400 a month, and the total of fixed expenses between mortgage, taxes, and energy is nearly 40% higher than it was in 2021. The impact goes beyond finances. Small local businesses, coffee shops, workshops, private schools feel the weight of the downturn. The streets that once echoed with laughter on weekends now breathe in uncomfortable silence. Residents speak about the future in low voices. Fear has replaced pride. Santa Clarita was sold as a synonym for stability, but today it is a portrait of anxiety. Behind the perfect lawns, there are sleepless nights and families doing math that doesn't add up. The suburban fortress that promised peace has turned into a financial prison. Number 4, Pleasanton. In the heart of the East Bay, Pleasanton was the symbol of predictable elegance. There, prosperity was measured in electric cars and school tuition fees. The streets were wide, the gardens well manicured, and the weekends looked like an advertisement for American success. But even perfection has a limit, and 2025 was the year it broke. Prices have fallen by 16%. Sales have plummeted by almost half. Homes that were once contested over a single weekend now go months without showings. What began with discreet layoffs at tech companies has turned into a wave of uncertainty that has hit even the most expensive neighborhoods. The high-salaried professionals, the city's economic base, are retreating. Bonuses cut, promotions suspended, and a new fear hanging in the air. That of losing not just the job, but the status. In neighborhoods like Ruby Hill and Vintage Hills, the mansions remain impeccable, but inside them there is apprehension. Mortgages of $9,000 a month, $20,000 in taxes. The numbers have ceased to be a symbol of success and have become a reminder of vulnerability. Even wealthy families are renting out parts of their own homes to alleviate expenses. It's the kind of detail no one discusses in public, but everyone knows. The atmosphere has changed. There's no more rush from realtors, no more lines at open houses. There is only a quiet weariness, a feeling that perhaps the dream went too far. Pleasanton is not collapsing from bankruptcy. It's collapsing from exhaustion. For years, it was believed that perfection was the natural destination of success. But now, residents are discovering that even prosperity has an emotional cost. The shine of wealth is starting to fade, and beneath the surface, there are invisible cracks. Number 3, Irvine. Irvine was always the perfect experiment in urban planning. Nothing out of place, nothing unpredictable. Every park, every bike path, every neighborhood, designed with almost mathematical precision. For decades, it was the pride of Southern California, the example that order could triumph over chaos. But in 2025, even the most perfect city is crumbling from within. Condo sales have dropped by 40%. The median home price has fallen by 11%. The planned communities, once a synonym for desire, now face lines of for sale signs that stretch for entire blocks. The flight of foreign buyers, who represented nearly 40% of the market, has dried up the flow of capital. And the base of tech professionals, which sustained the high prices, was devastated by mass layoffs and stagnation in the sector. The builders, once confident, now beg for attention. They offer credits on electric cars, payment of closing costs, even discounts on mortgages. But not even that is enough. Mortgages remain high, HOA fees are close to $500, and insurance has risen by more than 25% in a single year. The average cost of maintaining a home here has already surpassed all logic. What makes Irvine even more symbolic is the contrast between appearance and reality. The lawns are trimmed, the artificial lakes remain clean, and the schools are still impeccable. But behind the facades, there is worry, tension, resignation. Realtors report that house viewings have become silent, emotionless. The pride that sustained the market has turned into apprehension. For decades, Irvine was the laboratory of control, a city built to withstand the unpredictable. But now the unpredictable has won. The city planned to avoid failure is facing one it cannot control: disinterest. The beauty is still there, but the charm has been lost. The dream that seemed immune to reality has finally been caught by it. Number 2, San Ramon. For years, San Ramon was the model of the new California. Clean, organized, efficient. A city shaped by the success of large corporations, by tech salaries, and by the promise of a life without surprises. The presence of Chevron and the luxurious developments of Bishop Ranch created a high-end, modern, and safe suburb. But in 2025, this perfection began to crack, not from visible flaws, but from the weight of its own success. Home prices have fallen 17% since their 2022 peak. The most expensive properties, which used to receive multiple offers, now sit for months without a buyer. The same engineers and executives who sustained the bubble now watch helpless as the market they themselves fueled collapses. With layoffs in the tech sector and corporate bonuses in decline, luxury has lost its audience. The streets remain impeccable, the parks remain green, but there's something different in the air. A quietness that isn't peace, it's concern. Families who took on $2 million mortgages in 2021 now face payments of nearly $10,000 a month, not including taxes and HOA fees. Even cash buyers are hesitating, waiting for the next price cut, the next sign of a downturn. In the cafes of Bishop Ranch, the buzz of hurried executives has been replaced by quiet conversations about moving plans, about how to sell before it drops further. Even the realtors speak in a restrained voice, measuring every word. No one wants to be the first to admit that the peak has passed. San Ramon is discovering a bitter truth. The force that built the city is the same one that is crushing it. The link to Silicon Valley, which for years guaranteed growth and prosperity, has now become a burden. When innovation slows down, the technological dream turns into a monumental debt. What was once an example of urban success has become a lesson in fragility. San Ramon is still beautiful. It is still orderly. But behind the glass windows and flawless lawns, there are exhausted families trying to pretend that nothing has changed. Number 1, Santa Rosa. And at the top of this countdown, the city that refused to fall until it couldn't anymore. Santa Rosa was the symbol of Californian resistance. After every fire, it rose from the ashes, with new homes, new neighborhoods, new hopes. For a while, it seemed invincible. But even resilience has a limit. In 2025, prices have fallen by nearly 20%. The average time to sell a house exceeds 200 days, and home insurance, when available, costs 3 times more than it did 3 years ago. Insurance companies are fleeing the county. Those who stay charge amounts that would make anyone give up. And for many, giving up is exactly what is happening. Residents, tired of rebuilding, are leaving behind what they took decades to build. A realtor described it this way: they aren't selling for profit, they're selling for peace. The fire may have stopped, but the fear has not. Every summer brings memories of what could happen again, and every new bill is a reminder of the weight one carries to remain there. Santa Rosa is still beautiful. The hills are golden, the vineyards still shine at sunset, and the aroma of wine still lingers in the air. But behind this beauty, there is exhaustion. A community that has already proven to be stronger than fire now faces something more cruel: the erosion of hope. The battle is no longer against the flames, it's against the very human limit of endurance. Brand new houses, erected with pride after past tragedies, now stand empty. What once symbolized overcoming now represents surrender. And those who remain know they live on a fine line between pride and surrender. The fall of Santa Rosa is not just an economic chapter, it's an emotional wound in the heart of California. The state that for decades defined the American dream is living the nightmare of its own success. The coastal cities are suffocated by the cost of beauty. The suburbs are breaking under the weight of taxes and insurance. And the havens planned to resist instability have now become the stage for the greatest housing crisis of the modern era. From Chula Vista to Santa Rosa, the pattern is the same. What was built on optimism is now collapsing under the weight of reality. The families who rushed to the suburbs in search of security discovered that the danger wasn't in the cities. It was in their bank account. The collapse of California did not arrive suddenly. It came like the sunset, slow, beautiful, and yet inevitable. And now, as the lights of the houses go out on the perfect streets of these suburbs, a new question echoes in the silence. Did the American dream die, or did it just change its address? This is the new reality of California. The place where the sky is still blue, but the ground is starting to give way. And perhaps for the first time, even the wealthiest are discovering that no one is big enough to escape a collapse that has already begun. This is Keynomics. Subscribe, because the real estate collapse isn't on its way. It has already arrived on your street.